Yo, welcome back. Today is making of episode 5 and we're going to be going over my new track Sleepwalking Through the Night. Just dropped now. If you haven't checked it out, as always, there's going to be a link in the description. Maybe listen to it. This might make more sense. I wouldn't say usually I'm like the most technically talented sound designer. Like when it comes to that stuff, as you can tell from my previous videos, a lot of it's kind of a fluke. So that's why, like, in this track I was quite, like, I don't know, like, pleasantly surprised with myself. If we go in and look at the instrumental, so a lot of what you hear, like that first little up there that comes in, is just, so it's literally just like a saw with 7 unison on it, like really high up. And I've talked about it before, but I'm a firm believer that as soon as you like a sound, you should put it into audio. Like, stop fucking with it, you're gonna ruin it. So I bumped it into audio, pitched it down 12. And then what you have and the rest of that is I kind of chopped up some of the tail end of that into... So you get these kind of like weird, interesting sort of sounds. Like by itself it sounds kind of shit, but like with everything else it really works. And I think the other thing here is I've got this lead sample from Crane. So I just chucked this rack on it which kind of just blows the sound out a bit. And then I just pitched all the individual parts. So we got... The next element that I think that probably has the most weight in this section is that like really grunty bass. So it's this patch that I made for another song that's kind of yet to come out, but I use it often because it's just fucking good. So like all together, that's kind of what comprises most of that section. But we've got a few like glitchy textures. So what we've got is I think originally, what did that sound? So like completely different. I think that's one of the coolest things about Ableton is that beats warping mode. You can get really fucking interesting rhythms and textures and like super grainy things. Like yeah, you can get them with other DAWs, that is not an issue, but like it's just so easy. They're all like very individual and very separate elements that like by themselves kind of don't slap, but like when you put them all together it kind of... So the concept behind the song was that it was a song that was kind of hypothetically written for a friend that has passed. And I kind of felt that I needed to kind of convey that in the instrumental. So I wanted to look for like, I don't know, like a real like classic church organ to like, I don't know, get that like funeral vibe going. I found this little sample here. So I think it was from like a dubstep sample pack, but like it sounds real sick. So like the instrumentals, it's very basic. A lot of the track kind of has like a few defining elements like that lead and like those little high ups that were coming through, and I feel like sometimes you can overuse stuff like that, and I thought this was like a really good example of a song that was quite stripped back. There's no like obnoxious EDM build up with like a fucking Prida snare every 4 seconds, like, so it builds up the tension through like the vocals and through like some of the backing instrumentals just getting a bit like grittier as it like builds up, and then it kind of just like cascades into the big chorus drop section. So one of the main like driving points of the song is the vocal. Like it's like a 5.5 minute song and the instrumental sections only really take up maybe tops like a minute. But if we look at that main vocal line, like it's just very kind of like, processing is like, as usual, we've got a de-esser. If you are like me and you have a speech impediment, I would highly suggest getting a de-esser. It really helps cut out that sibilance. And like, I can't help it, like sometimes the S's just come, I can't say this, sometimes the S's just come through a little hard, and like that helps just kind of like cut off that harshness and make it a little bit more like palatable. But same as always, we've got auto, got a little Camel Crusher, got a really awful looking EQ on there, a little bit of reverb, super simple, but for the main vocal line. And you tell me that you're better now. So then we look at the harmonies. So like I recorded the harmonies previously, and what we've got here is we've got the mid harmony. And you tell me that you're better now. In the low harmony. And you tell me that you're better now. So what you'll notice is that it sounds like the start and the end of each word is kind of being cut off. This was kind of the only technique I've picked up from any formal training. I've never been to music school, never done any formal training for production or audio engineering. It's just kind of self-taught. Most of it's wrong. But I did one course at my university because we got to choose like a random course, and I was like, oh, I'll just do music production. Like, that will be fun. And like I slept through it. Like it was like some of the most basic stuff, but I did learn this, which is what I'll share with you today. So what I went through and did was all of these words I chopped out that where it had like a bit more of a sharp syllable, so I leave room for that lead vocal to kind of do a lot of the work, and then the backing vocals kind of just to do what they're meant to, like exist in the background. So like by itself. And you tell me that you're better now. And you tell me that you're better now. Yeah, all in all, it's again a very simplistic track. I think what I'm probably realizing doing these videos too is that my production is a lot more like minimal than I thought it was, but fuck it. I hope you guys liked the track. I hope you learned something. If there's anything that I missed from the song that you really want to know about, comment it below. Cool. And if you haven't heard the full song, do you fucking mind? And if you haven't heard the full song yet, it sounds a little like this. It was a good